the Daylesford Podcast. Events, stories and people around the Hepburn Shire. And the number one question is, what's your most expensive bottle of wine and how much?
It's always kind of voyeuristic, isn't it?
Hey everybody, you are listening to the Daylesford Podcast. Maybe this is your first podcast. That's a little exciting. And that person you heard just then was Jeremy Shiell. He is a local sommelier, and in this podcast, he is going to tell us all about the seasonal local wines. My name is Jared Pickford, and I may know a chunk of you out there. I kind of turn up to events and meet people, and I've been coming and going here for about 15 years. And what I love about Daylesford is there's so many people I meet with so many stories, and they're everyday people. You know, there's creative people, there's mothers and fathers and brothers and sisters, and there's people who work really hard, there's people who study, there's incredible entrepreneurs here, and all these people have a story. And that's what podcasts are about. They're about finding stories. So every week in this podcast, I'm going to be talking to people of the area and tell you all about the community events happening around the Hepburn Shire. You'll hear in this first podcast, I talk to Jeremy Shiell. Jeremy is the wine guru of Daylesford, let's say. He manages wine in the country. I've known Jeremy for about 5 or 6 years now, and I know that he loves wine. He's passionate about wine, and I want to know what it is that drives him, and what about the local wines around here? Let's talk about that. What about the international wines that they bring in? So with that in mind, here's a few minutes with Jez, and then I'll come back, tell you about the events, and then I'll play the rest of the interview with Jez. Tell me about wine in the country.
Oh, cool. So wine in the country is arguably Australia's premier independent retail wine bar.
Why would you say arguably?
Oh, there are others.
Go on.
No, look, it's owned and established by Jen Latter 6 years ago now, which is a long time in the world of independent retailing and hospitality. It stocks a tremendous range of local, 60% local, and then sort of 40% old world wines, many of which are unavailable certainly in Daylesford, and I suppose on a national level would be unavailable in many stores kind of thing. So we're very lucky to have a store and an owner who believes in the offer, and customers who support us as well.
And the number one question is, what's your most expensive bottle of wine and how much?
It's always kind of voyeuristic, isn't it? That we have a couple of things. We've got over in that little wine fridge over there, a converted cheese fridge. We've got a couple of magnums from Capilano.
Oh yeah.
A famed Barolo producer in the northwest of Italy. They'd be around the $900 mark. They're magnums, so that's kind of cheating.
What's a magnum, by the way?
A magnum is a 1.5 litres of wine, so a double.
Okay.
A double bottle.
Yeah, sorry.
Then there is Soldera Case Bus. I may be saying that incorrectly, which is around the $850 a bottle mark.
So now we've got you've poured me some wine here. So give me the run through. Tell me everything I need to know.
Okay. This is a Gamay from the Loire Valley in France, central France, by a wonderful producer by the name of Claude Turboeuf. A very rough translation of that is Field of the Killed Cow. So everything sounds better in French, yeah?
The dead cows. Oh, there is a cow there.
Yeah, there is a cow there.
Cow with wings on.
So the flying cow there. It's Gamay. It's made by the producer is Claude Turboeuf, and the man who makes it, his name is Thierry Pouzelat. He's very famous in natural wine circles. So one of the iconoclasts, I suppose, who believed in doing everything organically. His land has never had chemicals on it. He doesn't use any chemicals, doesn't use any sulphur, except for maybe a little bit just before bottling, which is I guess the very definition of natural wine, if there is one. So vibrant, expressive, beautiful, slightly rustic Gamay that's delicious. We get it once a year. We try and buy as much as we can, and it generally sells out in about 4 weeks, which is great. So there's a real appetite for this style of wine, reasonably priced. So
this is the time that you only get this once a year?
We get it, yeah. Yep. We tend to get it in June each year, and we just stack it in a big corner over there and pour it, and it's all gone within about 5 or 6 weeks at the most. So
I'm pretty lucky to come in now then, yeah?
It's a good time to come in, absolutely. I love the smell of this wine. it's so promising, so inviting, slightly wild, bit of rosehip and cranberry, and then it's just super delicious to drink.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So do I drink it now, or
I'd encourage you to drink it now, Jared.
I was waiting for you to drink it first.
Let's have a drink.
Okay.
Let's have a drink.
Tell me about it, because I'm not very good at describing wines. We've learnt this in the past.
It's brisk and racy. It's got a lovely click of acidity.
Yes.
It's very fresh. It's got a slight bit of funk in the mid palate, just this kind of little juiciness and dirtiness to hold on to, which is, if you're a sniffy old wine dude, you'd probably go, there's something faulty with that or something. But this is just natural wine in its raw state that's completely delicious for drinking. So.
I can still taste it in my mouth, and it's kind of stretching. I feel like it's pulling or stretching on my tongue and palate. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why would that be?
That can be any number of things. I think that it sort of harks back to what we were talking of earlier, in that it's got that slight bit of funk.
Yeah. When you said funk, I thought that's what you were thinking.
Yeah. So
that's not a positive. Well, it is, but it isn't.
It is in this one.
Okay.
It is in this one. It's not in every one, but you've got that raciness of the red fruits. That slightly kind of animal and sauvage thing that you get in, again, it sounds better in French, that you get in this style of wine, red wine from the Loire Valley.
Yeah, nice. And now we're on it. Tell me, so let's go about with your love of wines. Mm-hmm. So you've been what would your title be?
These days?
I'm not sure. So what I know about you, okay, so we work together. So what I knew about you is you're very good at wines. They rate you as a sommelier. And you've got 2 glasses or 3 glasses or something? How's that work? Or did I have that wrong? Tell me.
We could just start from the start if you like.
Yeah, tell me the start.
I worked in restaurants for a number of years in Melbourne, then moved to Adelaide, and then I suppose really learnt my, earned my chops. What's the expression?
Yeah, that's good.
Busted my chops. Out at the Royal Mail Hotel in Dunkeld.
Oh, I know that one. I grew up down there. That's a pretty special place to work with. That must be Alan Myers must own that.
It is, the Myers family. So Alan Myers, he a great wine lover in Dunkeld there, and I was lucky enough to be the head sommelier and the wine buyer for him and for the hotel. And I was there for 4 years. And while the restaurant had 3 hats, we won Restaurant of the Year.
Yeah, okay.
We won Best Wine List in Australia.
Oh, so you had Best Wine List in Australia to your name.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we did in 2012. And then I moved to wonderful Daylesford and Hepburn Springs.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
In 2012. And ended up working at the Argus Dining Room down in Hepburn Springs. We were nominated for Best Regional Wine List, and we retained a 3-glass rating for at least a couple of years. I think it might have been 2 or 3. Yeah.
What does it mean? What's a 3-glass rating? What does that mean?
A 3-glass rating in Gourmet Traveller, which is Australia's premier kind of wine list awards, just demonstrates that I think that the restaurant, that the wine program knows what it's doing.
That'd be you.
That it has a breadth of vintages, an offering of good wines supported by able and competent service.
That's the first part of the Jez interview, and when we come back, we'll talk about local wines. Jez has some great recommendations to get your lips wrapped around the bottle. No, not that. No, the glass. To sip lovely wine through a beautiful glass. Sorry, that came out wrong. So this Friday, the 5th of July, which is today, because the podcast is released on Friday, there is a meetup at Cliffy's between 10 and 11 a.m. If you're a blogger or run an online business, come along, have a coffee and a chat, and that is run by Nora Vittens. You can find that on Facebook also. And another event today is social table tennis from 1 p.m. at Victoria Park. This Saturday, the 6th of July, let me tell you what farmers markets are on. You got the Daylesford Farmers Markets, which is at the Daylesford Primary School, Vincent Street, 9 till 1. You got Wood End Farmers Market, High Street and Forest from 9 till 1. Meg Ullman is doing an olive curing workshop. That is from 9:30 till 12 at the Senior Citizens Room, and no booking required, just turn up. Also, there is a winter bird walk today, and that starts at 9 a.m. at Tipperary Springs. So you can come along, bring some thermos, bring snacks, and it's led by Daylesford local Tanya Luz. Beginners are very welcome. And Saturday night, there's the Daylesford Football and Netball Club. They have the Great Gatsby Ball. In the Facebook description, it says, head back to the roaring 20s, flapper dresses, silk gloves, tuxedos, top hats, glitz and glamour. And a reminder, there's also a free minibus to take you home. Sunday, there's an open mic night at the Daylesford RSL at 20 Vincent Street, Daylesford. Monday, a reminder that the Creswick Photography Prize 2019 opens for entries. And also in Creswick, there is the Winter Pantomime, and it's called The Lamington Man. I think it's a takeoff of the Gingerbread Man, and it looks pretty cool, actually. Also this week is Disco Bingo Daylesford Bowls Club. Or I think they also call it Dolly's Disco Bingo, and that is the 11th of July. Finally, Tuesday night, it's the French Alps tasting at Wine in the Country, and I'm going to jump back into the interview with Jez because he tells us all about it. So, it's July now, so tell us about some local wines, or if people come in here, if locals come in here, or the tourists come in here, what are you recommending at the moment? What are you giving them?
Yeah, it's a good question. We obviously we try to stick to the majority being local wines. This time of year, Macedon, Ballarat and surrounds, Pinot Noir is always very, very popular. Chardonnay's intensely popular as well, which is great. I think Chardonnay and local Chardonnay from the Macedon Ranges and Ballarat is amongst the best thing that we kind of do, I suppose. It's the one thing that sort of can compete on a global scale.
Like the wines around here compete internationally.
Absolutely, yeah. Australian Chardonnay is a Chardonnay in Australia is the best thing that we do. Easily.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So tell me your favourite wine then.
My favourite wine changes all the time. So, sitting here talking with you, my favourite wine is the Vin Rouge from
the one we're drinking.
Yeah, it's a delicious drink.
That's good.
But it does change all the time. I cellar mainly. I suppose if push came to shove, my favourite region is it's really difficult, but I'd probably name three. I'd say Northern Rhone, Shiraz, Syrah. I love Burgundy as well, red and white, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay. And I love the wines from the Jura as well. So the Jura is in between Burgundy and Switzerland kind of thing.
Okay, yeah.
It's pretty hipster in wine circles. So it's a tiny region, but it's very... it's a touch esoteric, but the wines are wonderful. And I suppose, locally, I do love local Chardonnay. So Macedon, Ballarat, Eastern Peak.
And so you've got what's on next week?
So at the wine bar here, we run various events particularly through winter, to get people out of the house and all that kind of thing. Next week, we're doing a little tasting of the French Alps. So we were talking of Jura. So we're doing fondue with a local chef, restaurateur, Matt Carnell, who has Bistro Terroir, great little restaurant in town. So we're doing that next week. There'll be other events. We've got Zach Grumont from Guildford Vineyard and Salador coming to cook in late August. Dave Wilcox from the Silly Goats will be coming and doing a little evening as well, and hopefully Sean from the Salt Kitchen will be doing a little ramen night, which was very popular a couple of years ago. Yes. That'll be good. And then a few masterclasses and things as well, so we'd really encourage people to keep an eye out and sort of come down. But yeah, next week is the French Alps tasting.
Nice.
And then in October is the big event where we run our natural wine fair and wine tasting, minimal intervention. We don't be too dogmatic about it.
That's a big event though. That's been going for a few years.
That's been going a couple of years now. It's a great event. It used to be on Queen's birthday weekend. We have moved it to October this year. So Sunday, October 13. And I think early bird tickets go on sale next week.
Where from?
From our website, www.wineinthecountry.com.au. And that's a fantastic day. That'll be 35 different producers, importers. Your ticket gets you in, gets you a glass. You get to taste through approximately 100 wines, maybe more. There's some panel discussions. There'll be food trucks and things like that as well. It's really fantastic.
And that is the first episode of the podcast. If you have any community events coming up, please let me know and I will put it in the podcast. And I just want to send out a huge big thanks to Laura Jane Rose for helping me find all the events and piecing the podcast together. She's been a huge help. Thanks everyone. I'll see you next week.